been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
It is turkey time, and we're back with another episode of the One Hell of Life Outdoor Podcast. What's going on, Dad? You were on this is your second podcast today.
This is my second gobbling.
Yeah, you were on a podcast earlier.
Yeah, I was. I was on a good friend of mine's podcast, Todd Locks. He runs the Eat, Slay, Live podcast, and you want to talk about somebody that will motivate you both mentally and physically for sure. Todd's your guy. So anyway, big shout out to you, Todd. Love the positive message and everything. Thank you for having me on today. But man, we are. It's turkey time.
Yep.
It's turkey time. We're all getting the turkey itch. We're freaking out. And, you know, I've already seen posts of people, oh, I saw one strutting in this field. And, you know, our folks down in Florida, I know they get some early action going too. And yeah, we're really going to dive into it, Tristan.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to dive into the Eastern turkey specifically because, you know, it's the most common turkey. And we're just really going to do a deep dive on everything from, you know, breeding to habitat to characteristics of what they look like, to
history.
History, conservation, predation. I mean, you name it.
Ecology, you name it.
Hunting tips. We're going to try to hit every single thing and just kind of wrap this up in a nice little bow at the end of it and say, hey, we're not turkey professionals, but we did a bunch of research for you guys and tried to put together the best like turkey informational podcast we could.
Yeah. I mean, but if you're just like the normal Joe or Sally, you know, and you just want to know about this stuff, look, we're not trying to hit home runs. We're just hitting the ball, right? And we're giving you guys great factual information. And if you're obsessed with turkeys the same way you are with everything else, then you're going to appreciate what you're going to listen to tonight.
Yeah, and, you know, to touch on the factual information thing, the information that I got is, you know, straight from a university in Texas, NWTF, Field and Stream, let's see here.
Outdoor Life.
Georgia Wildlife, Outdoor Life. So these are all reputable, you know, either colleges, organizations, you know, whatever it may be, state agencies.
Pros, professionals, you know, biologists, all kinds of great stuff. But yeah, man, we're going to really dive into this thing tonight. And I'm super excited to do it because, you know, just preparing for this, I learned a little bit myself. Yeah,
no, me too. And it's fun just to fully immerse into, you know, something and, you know, take the time to learn. So
heck yeah.
Yep. So, you know, let's go ahead and start with basically just some of the, you know, characteristics of the Eastern turkey, you know, that kind of make it unique, right? So here we go. They have chestnut brown tips on their tail feathers, and if you guys have seen an Eastern turkey, you know what I'm talking about. Plus they got the white and black bars on the wings. You know, the adult males weigh 18 to 30 pounds. Adult females, it says 8 to 12. They have the strongest gobble of the four turkey species you can kill, so I thought that was interesting. They have the longest beard of all the subspecies. And then this says they're second to Osceola in difficulty of calling in. Maybe because I guess that's the most common turkey. They get hunted the most. But those are just some of the, that was from NWTF, just some of the interesting you know, characteristics that they have. But really I want to, you know, rewind here and go back to, you know, their early life. I was doing some research today on, just from the beginning, you know, like, you know, hens laying eggs and how that whole process goes.
Sure.
And what, I was really, you know, kind of interested to find out, is that, so get this, hens lay one egg per day. One egg per day for an average of 10 days. So average of 10 eggs. So it's not like they just lay them all at one time and then they incubate them. And then they are only incubated for 28 days, which, you know, I mean, you see little turkey babies in the spring and summer, which, you know, kind of makes sense. But just to see 28 days is kind of like, wow, it happened so quick.
Does it actually cost her 38 days? Because she's got, I mean, think about it.
Well, the last one. Yeah, the last one would, you know, for the turkey, it cost her 38 days. But, you know, they're, in their habitat, you know, they're wanting to nest in like, you know, shrubs or, you know, grasses and things like that. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit when we get into kind of the conservation and like the predation and all those kind of topics. But I just thought that was really interesting that they lay one egg a day for 10 days, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, and obviously once the the poults are hatched, we'll get into this more, but they have a, uphill battle, from a lot of different standpoints on reaching maturity.
Sure.
But yeah, I guess there'd be a good point to kind of get into some of their, habitat, diet, predators and stuff like that, which I got a article here that I wanted to dive into. Let's see here.
Well, I got one real quick while you're doing that.
Yeah, go ahead.
A turkey can run 25 miles an hour. I think that one that we shot at last year ran 37.
Yeah. I'm just picturing Roadrunner when you said that.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. You hear some kind of cartoon noise and they take off.
What were you were saying something off air about them flying?
Oh yeah,
flying
so they can fly for more than a mile at a time, and at speeds of up to 55 miles an hour. And, I've always heard, the guys that used to tell me back in Illinois when they used to turkey hunt a lot, they would tell me, they're talking to me about hunting turkeys. I don't know nothing about it. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just get underneath them? And as soon as shooting light goes off, blow those suckers out of the trees. And they're like, well, you're not supposed to do that. It's like, and I go, oh, okay. And they said, well, and honestly, asking for a friend, they said, we know a friend that actually, one time did that, and it soared so far away that you'll never get them. They just take off and they just soar.
Yeah.
And so they say it's not even worth the chance, of even trying it. So anyway, but
yeah, I've seen a video on Instagram, like watching one soar out of a tree and come out into a field, and it was like shocking how far it actually, glided out there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's also crazy about when they're babies, since you were talking about hatching. Mm-hmm. Within 24 hours of hatching, they already know how to eat, and they're eating.
So yeah, I was
just like that.
I was reading some stuff about that too, and like just how much of their diet like immediately is just like eating different little grubs and
bugs they're testing everything and just eating. They really just eat everything that they can.
Little reptiles, man.
No, they're little freaking
dinosaurs.
Yeah, they're like those little ones that that come attack you by the thousands.
Like velociraptor?
Yeah, little baby velociraptors.
Yeah. So, if you've ever turkey hunted, a lot of times you're sitting on hunting on the edge of these kind of, grassier fields or things like that. And
open areas.
Yeah, open areas, and turkeys really need both, and they like areas where they can get into some thicker stuff, but also get into that, grassier kind of open stuff for feeding, for nesting. There's a lot of different...
Mating.
Yeah. There's a lot of different reasons, why that's important. And like, you see a lot of, this can even be a tip too, like the area that we turkey hunt on a WMA, you can tell that it's been control burned within the last, few years.
Yeah.
And that's really important. Like you see a lot of these guys on, to the conservation side of things, a lot of these guys on, private land that manage for turkeys always do controlled burns. Obviously there's great benefits for the environment, but I was reading a quote that like turkeys actually like almost like rely on that. Like they capitalize so much on these new
that reproduction.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's
it's everything from seeds to grubs to everything.
You got it. Yeah. And they're coming in and boom, smashing all that stuff. So
sure.
When you have areas that are just stagnant and haven't been,
well, look, I mean, deer benefit from it too.
Mm-hmm.
Deer, they're browsers, and that browsing brush comes up, it's at eye level. It's awesome for them to take. So, no, I'm not surprised on that.
Yeah, and this actually says from this Texas university, it's an opportunistic forager, like we were just talking about. Green foliage, insects, seeds, grasses, and forbs. And mast, which is acorns and nuts, but it says annually their diet consists of about 36% grasses, 29% insects, 19% mast, and 16% forbs. And I just thought it was interesting how that, broke down. It's a lot more grasses than I would have thought, because to me, like when last year, the turkey I shot, it was full of, a lot of insects and stuff.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
when you kind of look at the conservation side of things with turkeys, there's, several things that you can do, right? And I'm going to touch on that in a minute, but I just wanted to touch on some of these statistics that I found. There were once extinct in 15 states and now they're in 38 states.
Wow.
Obviously because of successful conservation. you know, in the 1950s, I read, and this is just all turkeys, there was as low as 500,000 birds. You know, and in the 90s, they peaked at about 7 million. I also read from NWTF, like their last population survey in 2014, there's about 6.2 million turkeys. You know, it's kind of taking a fall backwards a little bit, but and I was reading on there that some scientists just think it's the population kind of like leveling out, you know, and you know, kind of stabilizing. But what I thought was really interesting is there's a couple states that really suggest the opposite of that. New York is down 40% from their turkey population. And Arkansas, shout out Kade Weatherford and Colin and all the other turkey hunters I know there, Carson, is down 65%. And anybody you talk to that's a turkey hunter in Arkansas will chew your ear off about it. Just
in Northeast Arkansas anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, imagine losing 2/3 of your turkey population.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, don't get us wrong. There are some incredible places to turkey hunt in Arkansas. Because Arkansas is a big state, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you're saying you were going to go duck hunting in the city of Chicago, you're probably not going to do very good. All right, you know, but point being is where all that rice habitat is, basically, all those rice fields, that's not turkey habitat anymore.
Yeah. And
it's very limited.
Yeah.
So they got a very short season.
Yeah. If you've been through their duck hunting, you know, you've seen it and you know those open, like it's not turkey habitat, you know, there's not woods anywhere to be found really. It just has it, you know, except for those river bottoms, you know, and stuff like that. But you know, yeah, that's just some of the statistics I had for the conservation conversation we're about to get into. But I want to, you know, drill down on that. But did you have anything?
Oh, I got all kinds of stuff, dude.
Okay.
I got so I'm gonna be. How about tonight? I am the random fact thrower.
Okay.
All right. Random fact number, whatever this is.
Okay.
Turkey crap is how you tell the sex and age of a turkey.
Huh.
So male droppings are J-shaped, while female droppings are spiral-shaped. And the larger the diameter, the older the bird. How crazy is that?
That's interesting.
So there's your fun fact number. We'll call it 3.
Well, good. That was a nice little funny change up to
I got more.
Good. Well, I mean, if you want to go down the line before we kind of dig back.
No, you're going to have to stay tuned to this podcast.
All right. Well, sounds good. Well, you know, I want to dive back in on this conservation thing because, you know, there's a lot of different reasons that turkeys, you know, can be declined in certain areas. You know, if you just look at the predators and mesopredators, everything from, you know, snakes or raccoons to, you know, bobcats to
fire ants.
Like you can go down this list and read of all these different things that will, you know,
affect the
broods. Yeah. And I actually had found that this is from the state of Georgia that, let's see here. I believe it said in the 90s, the poult success, which I guess what they're saying there is if they lay 10, you know, how many of them are
actually succeeded.
Yeah. And it was about 3.5 to 4 per hen.
It seems pretty good to me.
Yeah. And now what the last study that came out recently,
Williamson Outfitters, located along the beautiful Gulf Coast of Florida, is a premier guide service with lodging that provides incredible coastal duck hunting, gator hunting, fishing, gigging, scalloping, and custom boat tours along Florida's Forgotten Coast. They are family owned and operate with over 200 years of combined experience hunting and fishing along this incredible stretch of Florida. Is flounder gigging on your bucket list? Williamson Outfitters offers nighttime gigging charters April through October. Targeted species include not only flounder, but also sheepshead, black drum, mullet, gar, and even stingrays. Fishing charters consist of inshore and nearshore fishing targeting species such as tripletail, redfish, trout, mahi-mahi, shark, flounder, sheepshead, black drum, snapper, jacks, and mackerel. On coastal duck hunts, you have an incredible chance at rare species like redheads, bluebills, buffleheads, fully plumed blue-winged teal, mottled ducks, whistling ducks, and several other species. Spots are filling up fast, so book today. Call or text Captain Chris at 850-251-8650 or visit floridaducks.com. Mention One Hell of a Life podcast and receive 15% off your trip. Offer ends March 31st.
Throughout the whole state of Georgia, which I would imagine this is, you know, similar to across a lot of areas, the poult success is really like 1 to somewhere between 1 and 2.
Wow.
Yeah, and just because all, the predation side of things, the habitat loss is a big one. As we mentioned before, the habitat management in areas, and there's just a lot of different factors that these turkeys are having to, go up against.
Yeah, you know what I'm doing? You know what I'm processing right now?
What?
Dude, we got to get somebody on here from Georgia Game and Fish. We need to get somebody on here from Georgia Game and Fish, see if we can't connect with somebody to... I'd really like to dive into that.
Yeah, me too. I'd love to hear the whole, the whole process from management to the whole breakdown. And
wouldn't Georgia be counted as one of the top at least 5 states for turkey hunting?
I wasn't thinking about
Eastern
it.
Turkey.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody we talk to in the Midwest, they go, "Oh, you're from Georgia?
Yeah.
Well, take me turkey hunting."
Yeah.
It's the first thing we hear all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody always says that. So we might have to start using that to our advantage and be like, dude, we got some incredible ground.
Yeah, right.
No, hopefully one day.
Yep. But, that message, to say all that stuff is kind of like a Debbie Downer, I know.
Yeah.
But, like, what I was, one of the things that I came across that an
awareness point.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into what I'm about to say. Locally, there's things you can do, especially if you're blessed to own your own property. As you talk back on, control burning your property and having, planting and managing native grasses and like open fields and like not mowing it. Like they said, one thing you could do is just don't mow it, after like March or whatever, let that grass grow. And because every bit of that habitat that can benefit turkeys is, good to have.
Yeah. I mean, you got grasshoppers, you got, you
places to nest,
caterpillars, you got bird. I mean, you got it's unending. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like, even though, we have an uphill battle on public lands and, developments and all that kind of stuff, if you have your own property, you can really dive into some, helpful things you can do, and you can take out predators, take out raccoons, take out those different things that are coming in and eating the eggs. All important things that you can see impact your turkey population there locally. So, which I know, a lot of these guys that manage their land and our turkey hunters probably know all this stuff anyway. But let's say you buy some land and you have land, you're wanting to improve your turkey abundancy. Good stuff to get into.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong on this, but I imagine it varies state to state. But I'd swear that I've heard that there's certain states that you can actually put in a request to have a state biologist come out and assess your land for turkeys or quail. I think it might be turkeys, and don't quote me on that, but it's worth checking out. So if you own property and you want to get an assessment of, it's not like they're going to go in there and tell you how to redesign your property, but you can have a biologist come out there. They want to help the bird. Mm-hmm. And you might even be able to call somebody from NWTF. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm
just saying why I'm thinking about it. I just wanted to mention this is that to me, it sounds reasonable that you could find somebody that would, especially if you got a big enough tract of land.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. If you call up NWTF and say, hey, all right, check it out. I've got 5,000 acres and I want it to be prime turkey habitat. Guess what? You're probably getting a call back from the CEO of NWTF. All right. But I'm just saying, if you've got 50 acres, 100 acres, maybe there's co-op programs that you can do with neighbors to increase the habitat, so.
Yeah, no. And I know there was something that I read. I'm not going to be able to find it right now, but I know for a fact I read something earlier about if you have land, large private landowners and stuff, or just any private land, like, because they look at it, it benefits the overall turkey population. So of course they want to come in and help if you reach out and, and I'm sure you can do that through NWTF, or at least they can point you to state representatives or biologists you can get in touch with. So
yeah. I would reach out, even reach out to the states.
Yep.
You never know.
Yep. No, for sure. And that's kind of my big synopsis on like the turkeys, the, habitats, what they eat, the, different factors facing them. And that's kind of, a nutshell and the best I could do here in, 18, 20 minutes. But, if you guys have any questions or whatever, we'd be happy to, answer those. But, one thing we wanted to get into, of course, is like, tips and tricks.
And turkey fun fact number 4.
All right,
Ding.
let's hear it.
Fun fact number 4. Feathers galore. An adult turkey has more than 5,000 to 6,000 feathers.
Jeez. That's nuts. I believe it, because when I was plucking one in my front yard, and by the way, I was doing it, and you know the thing when like the meme on Facebook when your neighbors come outside and have like a horrified look. I'm trying to do it kind of discreet, and I'm plucking this turkey or whatever, and I look over and my neighbors are just like staring at me, and I'm like, shit. But I swear there was turkey feathers for like 3 months just randomly floating around my garage and yard. But speaking of feathers, I just saw a fact too that poults can fly in 14 days.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's quick.
So, all right, I'm going to give you a bonus, another one.
Okay.
Tom turkeys aren't the only ones that swagger and fan their tail feathers to woo mates and ward off rivals. Some heads strut too. So, hens can do some strutting too, I guess. There you go.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to get into that I didn't end up finding or looking up, maybe when one of us is talking, the other one can look it up while we're on this podcast. But I wanted to figure out why some hens are bearded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was one thing that I had on my list, but I never got around to figuring that out today. But it's just kind of interesting.
Another fact. Bing.
What's that?
All right. So Benjamin Franklin called the wild turkey the bird of courage and thought it would make a better national symbol than the bald eagle because he thought that the bald eagle was pretty mean, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So anyway, interesting.
So, diving back into the Eastern turkey and all that good talk there. I am reading right now that the total estimated population is close to 5.4 million. And like I said earlier, they're in 38 states and actually 5 Canadian provinces. But one of the things I wanted to get into obviously was the tips and tricks. And the first thing I would say, and we've always been big about this from deer hunting to whatever, is just getting away from a crowd. And that doesn't have to be just an Eastern turkey or what. It could be anything. It could be a deer, it could be ducks, whatever you're going after. Trying to get away from the crowd, and get into some woods that are untapped is always going to be a success. Good way to put yourself in a more successful situation.
Sure. Well, it's just like, you got to scout like you hunt.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most important things and that goes with any species. You got to scout like you hunt. And if you're just walking around with your thumb up your ass, quite honestly, and not paying attention to everything around you, you're probably going to miss the boat. Mm-hmm. But a turkey track led us to where we were going last year. We were walking in, and remember me seeing that turkey track, and I go, "This is a good sign." On that road,
more or less.
But the point is how would you like to walk all day in days like we have and never see a turkey track? All right. I'm just saying you can gain sign by keeping your eyes open. So I just thought real quick we'd talk a little bit about some scouting stuff.
Yeah.
Because you got to do that first. Mm-hmm. And so number one, take into consideration what Tristan just talked about as far as habitat.
And again, real quick, we're not the experts on any of this stuff, but we're just giving you good factual information that we looked up or with our limited experience that we've seen.
You're not going to hear us just kind of shoot off the hip here with something crazy. Mm-hmm. But no, this is all factual stuff. And if you can really find this research and dive into it further on some of these things with some of these other professionals and organizations. But, number one is you're out there scouting. Is like Tristan said, you want to get off the beaten path. All right. If you get out of your vehicle and you hear turkeys gobbling, dude, somebody else hears the turkeys gobbling. Mm-hmm. And, I know it's a risky situation for you to go, man, I got to go find some other turkeys, but you do. You really do. And, unless you just want to waste your time, it's going to happen.
And not to mention, it's kind of dangerous too.
It is.
And you can ruin somebody's hunt. So it's like,
yeah. You see, you're scouting against other people. Mm-hmm. So you can't think like average people would. Mm-hmm. So number one, you got to know that, and this is a true fact, but hunters can be lazy, and it's the same thing with deer hunting too. So, number one, you're looking for areas, look for something that is a sumbitch to get to. That's way outlying, and look for something like that first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's the further you can put yourself away from like a road or something like that, the less odds there's going to be somebody that as crazy as you are, you know?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But back to the scouting thing, I just want to touch on real quick is another tip that I read today is like this guy on this one article was talking about one of the ways he'll scout is like he'll go and, you know, let's say he finds some turkey sign. He'll just sit there. He'll just plop down and sit there. If he's got a ground blind, he'll put up and he'll just sit there for a few hours and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's, you know, I feel like you're wanting to see a turkey or you want to see like something. So you have this tendency to keep moving and covering ground, but like sometimes less is more. And like, if you see a sign there, like odds are they're, you know, they use that area. So why not try to figure that area out before you get, you know, caught up running and gunning, trying to find other areas, you know?
No, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really does. And I mean, if you're fortunate enough to have deer stands on your property, and I mean, dude, get up in a deer stand, and go up there and sit up there for a couple hours and watch what happens. Or you might already have that knowledge from a deer hunter. I mean, of course, usually things change a little bit in the spring, but the point is that use your resources. And no, I think that's great. I mean, you got to become one with kind of where you're at and understand what's going on there. And the only time you can do that is take the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so no, that's a great point. You know, but you know, you got to have your eyes open, be looking for the right type of habitat. You know, you can start off a lot by just using the mapping softwares that you're using. You know, you should be using Huntwise. If you're not, then you know what I think about you. But no, and don't forget to check out the discount code. But you know, you start off by using that, and we're talking primarily on public ground right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and start looking now. If you're looking at a big map and you're looking for open fields and stuff like that, guess what? Everybody else is too.
Mm-hmm.
They are. So you might only have limited resources like that, but maybe you can figure out a way to get in between a roost and a feeding area. Maybe you can figure out.
In the outdoors, every detail counts. See sharper, aim clearer. From the river's edge to the heart of the flooded timber, Hook and Bullet has your vision covered. Hook and Bullet's purpose-built optics are flawlessly crafted to give you an edge regardless of your outdoor pursuit. Use code ZeroDuck30 for 15% off a pair of Hook and Bullet sunglasses today.
The other thing you got to take into consideration, I remember now, is, you know, being that it's public ground, you know, and sometimes those areas, it's like, yeah, you know, there's going to be people there in those same woods. So you got to take into account, like, these birds have been called at every which way. They've seen every single type of decoy, you know, so really you're not pulling out any new tricks. So then what are you left with? Right. No tricks.
Right.
How about you do no tricks? So you just
how about you just go out there and waste your time? How about that?
Or no, just go out there and freaking try to ambush them, like you said.
Yeah. Just try to ambush them, or you know, just run through the woods with the drum in your hand. I don't know.
Try something completely different.
No, but that's how you got to approach this. If you're hunting on public land, you're gonna have to do it that way. You know, there are some great things that you can do. Different programs have quota hunts for certain WMAs and stuff for different states. So. That's always a great way to try to get some isolation for yourself on public land, you know, and limits the amount of hunters.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And Georgia does a great job with that. There's actually a WMA that we have deer hunted, you know, a lot, and we know there's turkeys there because we've seen them several times, you know, in the fall deer hunting, and it's one of the highest, you know, takes the most amount of priority points to pull that tag. So I got, I think I failed again this year, but I think next year I'll have 3 priority points, and I got like a 30% chance of pulling it. The next year it jumps up to like 70
really?
With 4 points. And then
good.
With 5 points, I have a 100% chance of pulling it. So for sure in like a couple years, we're going to be able to turkey hunt that. And it's like, I think you get like a whole week that you have access to. So that's a great point. If you don't want to deal with pressure, just, you know, cut your teeth and keep trying to apply for these quotas, because eventually you're going to pull a good one.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, if you network with people, like in Georgia, you can probably hop on Georgia Turkey Hunters or somewhere and be like, hey man, I pulled this quota. I'm not the best turkey hunter. Will you come out and like show me the ropes? I guarantee you there's people that are crazy about turkeys that'll just come help call.
Yeah,
and whatever.
me and Tristan.
Yeah, but we're not good at it.
No, but yes, we are. No, I'm just kidding. No.
But you know, there's some really good turkey hunters that, you know, would come just call and just experience the morning with you. So that's a great point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So yeah, but you're gonna look on the map. You're gonna try to devise your plan, and it's tough if it's open to everybody. It's just a thing you're gonna have to deal with. So the other option is getting access to private land. So how do you do that? I think there's a lot of people on here that don't know how to do that, especially today. Here's the cool thing about turkey hunting. You have a way better chance of getting on somebody's property to turkey hunt than you do deer hunting, than you do duck hunting. And the reason why is everybody chases that, but it's not over. I don't feel like, with all the experiences I have, with all the hunters I know and all the people I've talked to and over the years and years, there's not as much pressure on landowners for turkey hunting as there is, say, deer hunting, as there is with waterfowl hunting. Okay.
Yeah, and just kind of real quick, I think you're probably right, but I think it also can vary by
area.
Yeah, where you're at. Illinois obviously is going to be a really big deer one, but that might be a good state for turkeys.
Yeah.
Because it's so heavily pressured with people asking for deer rights. Arkansas with your duck hunting, good luck getting, just unless you know somebody, good luck just being out of stater and asking for permission for ducks. That ain't happening.
No,
Probably not for turkeys.
Unless you got a big bank. Unless you got a big bank.
But to your point, I think you're right.
Yeah, no, I think it is. And a lot of deer leases might last only the season. Mm-hmm. So those guys that are paying that farmer money to hunt there might only be during the deer season and not a full year lease. Mm-hmm. And so there might be rights that open up. Which I could venture to say I'm sure there is situations like that are going to give you a possibility. So how do you do that? So number one is you don't do it by texting somebody. All right, I'm going to tell you that right now. If you can't go beyond texting on this situation, then just don't do it, because it's a waste of time and it's actually ruining your credibility as far as in most people's eyes. Because here's the deal, it's your generation, or say younger, right? Let's just say even younger than you, say high school right now. Then I'm in high school. I want to go turkey hunt, and it's very common for you to text. Of course, it's more common than phone calls. It's more common than anything. But the people that own these properties are, say, like my age and older.
Yeah.
And I don't mind texting and stuff either. But it would strike me odd that somebody was so impersonable to ask to have rights to my land that I've worked my ass off for over a text.
Right.
It's a respect thing.
Well, yeah, and it's a big, you talk anything that you hear about asking for permission, like you're not going to want to freaking roll up there looking like a dirtbag. No. And
that's part of why I'm going through this.
Yeah.
It's just I want to coach you guys a little bit.
Right, and that's just wrap up my point real quick is like it's important that they see that you're a nice person, and like not, yeah, exactly.
No, I mean a book is judged by its cover so many times, and so the first thing is that you want to do is that you want to go knock on their door. You can even start with a phone call. I think a phone call is professional enough to at least say, hey, I would like to stop by, introduce myself. And please don't judge me before we meet, but I'd like to talk to you about the opportunity to be able to turkey hunt on your property. And I just want you to know right out the gates that I'm willing to do any work that you need and anything like that to help out. And just start the conversation with that.
I think that's an amazing script, like what you just said, like that, like 10-second.
Yeah, I even felt myself wanting to say what I will do first before you let me do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost want to say, hey, Mr. Vogel, hey, this is Tony. I just wanted to find out if there's any work I could do for you. Anything I could help out around the farm, even all year long, just to have the opportunity to go out and take my son or my friend, turkey hunting.
Yeah, and that sets you apart big time.
I think if you just lead forward first with just saying what you're willing to do before what you're asking for,
yeah,
I think that series, it makes a huge difference. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
So, and then, more than likely that person's going to want to talk to you. Mm-hmm. So when you go over there, you don't pull up in the driveway with the music blaring. All right. If you smoke, you're not smoking cigarettes. If you're chewing, you're not chewing. If you got gum, you get it out of your mouth. And I'm being serious about this stuff. Dress you don't have to dress like you're going to church, but dress respectably. If you're a guy, I'd have a collared shirt on, a polo or something, and a nice pair of jeans or whatever, and stop by and just let them know who you are, and just put yourself in their shoes. Imagine if you owned this property and your family has owned it all 4 generations deep, just like my step uncle's property. My stepmom's mother and father, their ashes are on that property. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want everybody on that property. And he wants to know that there's not going to be a single piece of paper left on that thing, not a rut, nothing. So it takes a little bit of warming up, and maybe they won't let you at first, but maybe they want to get to know you a little bit more. And just say, okay, fine. You won't let me hunt here this year. Is there anything I can do for you this year to have the opportunity to maybe do it next year? I can come over and mow grass. See you got a lot of weeds over there. You don't wait for them to suggest something to you. Offer something.
Yeah.
If you see a fence that's down, hey, I can go fix that fence for you. Mm-hmm. Whatever. And I just think the more eager you can be in that regard, the more people are going to be to like, hey, this person means, they got true colors.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And, one of the biggest tips that I would just give with anything you're hunting, and I've talked about this before, is like you just getting reps, getting out there and practicing, because like, again, I'm not the turkey expert, and, I'm not the expert on anything actually, but, what I do know is the more time that I spend in the woods and the more opportunities I put myself in front of an animal, the more I learn and the more I'm successful.
Yeah.
So like, if you have an opportunity, if you're driving around by your house and you see some turkeys in a field and you can, gain that opportunity versus get on that crowded public land. That's just opportunities for you to learn, even if you're not a great turkey hunter, just opportunities for you to learn,
Yeah, just watch them.
Yep.
Yeah, just watch them. You're so right, because, Tristan and I have talked about it several times, and it's just, we had this turkey experience last year, that we may have harvested. Somebody with more skill or more, time, wisdom as far as turkey hunting go, probably would have smoked this turkey. Mm-hmm. But for us, we didn't know the way they act and what they do and what that means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it takes time to learn those things, for sure. So, but no, the big scouting thing is just the big piece, and finding private land sometimes is part of that. And if you get permission to do that, then getting out there and spending time in the woods and just scouting hard, looking at the different forage that you're looking for the right habitat, looking for tracks, and that kind of thing, looking up the right kind of sign and going out there and listening for them, so.
Yeah. And, talking about listening and.
Do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order.
Again, not expert here, but one thing I would suggest for anybody that's wondering about like calling is, you always want to mimic what you hear. Mm-hmm. That's so important. And like, if you spend the time out there and you can hear what they're doing in the mornings, like before the season opens up, then you can kind of give you a game plan on like what, don't go over the top,
Yeah.
It gives you, and I guess that could even probably narrow down to the morning, if they're not being real talkative that morning, you probably don't want to be real talkative.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to calling, there's some basic stuff out there that, that you kind of want to practice. And one thing is, like Tristan said, mimic what you hear. Mm-hmm. That's a great opportunity. If you're going into somewhere and you haven't listened and understand that environment, you're really, to me, I think you're wasting your time, mm-hmm. or you're just hoping to be lucky. But less is more when it comes to calling. Start off soft. You don't have to get crazy with it. I was reading one person talking about, when you've got them pegged and you know when they're coming down from the roost at. Believe me, if he gobbles at you, he knows where you are. All right, that's fine. But wait for them to hit the ground. They said so many times one of the common mistakes that a lot of turkey hunters do is they get all jacked up. And the turkeys come flying off the roost, and they start hitting them with calls as they're landing. And that actually does no good whatsoever, they said, because we know how loud it is whenever they land. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, and poof, hitting the ground and stuff. So give them 20, 30 seconds, you know, before you start.
Yeah, and one connection I want to draw for people that, you know, again, a lot of people listening to this are probably way more educated turkey hunters than I am.
Absolutely.
But one connection I want to draw for people that have never turkey hunted that want to get into it is just like a kind of fundamental thing that even we know, you know, is like, so when you're scouting in the evening and you see, you're lucky enough to be in the area, you see turkeys go up to the roost. So hens, they'll roost separate from the tom. So what you're trying to do in that traditional type scenario is try to set up in the morning in between the hen and the tom. So when you're calling, you're basically tricking that tom and being like, hey, I'm another turkey that's going over to your girls or whatever, and then he's getting pissed, and then that's how you kill him in a perfect scenario. But I just wanted to put that out there for people that are new, that because that was literally something I didn't know 18 months ago.
Yeah,
so,
that is the short and skinny of it. I mean, really, is that, you know, it's interesting. You know, I was reading some notes from Mark Drury on a strategy, you know, as far as hunting birds, and he believes in hunt. He calls it hunting in the middle, and what he means by that is he hunts right in the middle of a field in a blind.
Really,
if they're going out to that field, he'll put that blind right in the middle of the field and hunt from it. And he said turkeys don't spook the way, they don't see it the same way deer see it. And, you know, deer a lot of times just spooks them right off the field. But turkeys care less and just walk right up to you.
That's so interesting because you would think the opposite. You know, you think they'd be like, oh, that wasn't there yesterday. Yeah.
And now that's all in taking consideration with pressure and everything else. I'm sure he's talking about scenarios where turkeys aren't pressured.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't seen a bunch of blinds and a bunch of, you wake, the light comes on and you got like 12 blinds out in the middle of a 100-acre field. You're like, dude, what are we all doing out here right now?
Yeah, it's like that duck hunter meme.
Yep. So anyway, but you know, and also keep your calling, change it up quite a bit. You know, have a variation in your calls and your clucks and your struts and all those different calls that you have. You know, vary up the sounds and that you're doing quite a bit, and don't, you know, scream your call right at a turkey. You know, a turkey's walking around. Think about a turkey walking around, plucking its way through clucking through the woods. It's sitting there pecking at stuff and working around and moving its head. And just like you hear me better now, and now you don't, and that kind of thing. It's the same thing with a turkey. You know, it's very similar to what you're hearing right now. So take that in consideration when you're blowing too. You know, we do the same thing with duck calling. You know, a lot of times we'll call at the ground versus calling at the air.
Right.
You know, so.
And one thing I think is important to touch on with the whole calling thing is like two options for you new guys. So like odds are, which I'm not good at this either, you're a lot better than I am, Dad, but mouth call. If you can do the mouth call right off the bat, you're going to want to do that because that requires no movement from using a slate call or, you know, your hands. And the problem with that is you get a turkey in close and they're hanging up at 50, 60 yards, and you can't shoot that far, but you need to call some more, but you can't because you don't want to move. That's this dilemma you run into and why there's a benefit in having that mouth call down. But if you're in a situation where you can get a ground blind out, that's where you can get away with that movement. So just another tip that I just thought of for, you know, new guys. Yeah.
And, Harold Knight, you guys know who Knight Hale calls. You know, I was reading this little statement that he said, you know, and he said, when you get the chance, set up to call within gun range of a bend in a logging road. A gobbling turkey likes to step out into a curve where he can strut and look both ways down the road for hens.
Huh.
So I guess that's that guy's killed hundreds of turkeys, you know what I mean? And so that's another really cool thing is setting up. But it just brings to light, you know, if you've got a WMA, more than likely you got what we call fire lanes that go through that. That's what these grass roads are for, if you didn't know that, folks. These are fire access lanes. And, you know, really that's sometimes all you need. I mean, that opportunity I had calling that turkey in for Hunter that came in on me instead of Hunter.
Yeah.
That my gun, because I didn't, now I understand that I did not have my recoil spring clean at the time. It cost me a little click at 15 yards of a 10-inch gobbler, you know, so that I learned that lesson as a young turkey hunter. So, but no, we were right there on right there on a WMA road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's all the open area you need.
Yeah, I've jumped them deer hunting on roads like that several times.
It's a lot of that habitat. It's that grass and everything else. They like to get in that rocks, and I'm not sure that it's either, but I mean, I would think that turkeys they probably have a, well, I know they do. They got a gizzard.
Yeah, no,
they probably like to get those little pebbles and.
Yeah, no, they for sure do.
Yeah,
and
so
I've seen people that they'll like even save them, like turkey stones or whatever, and put them in a little thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's cool.
But to touch on that, the nice thing about that is the turkey in those environments, the turkey can easily get like the shelter of being in the hardwoods real quick, or hop out there and feed and stuff. So it's definitely a good kind of thing to look for.
Yeah, I mean, and you can look at it that way. If you got a WMA, and you're like, gosh dang, there's 8 miles of roads on these. Mm-hmm. Man, just get in an area and just
look for sign, look for
sign, and try to set up close to that. You know, whatever. Mm-hmm. Another tip that I saw here, and this was from Outdoor Life magazine, and this are tips from pros. It says, challenge the boss hen. Many days in April, you will sit down to work a gobbler that's dressed with 2 or more hens. Listen to the dominant, most vocal girl and mock her. If she yelps, you yelp. If she clucks, you cluck back. Rile up a boss hen, and she may come to check you out as the new sassy girl in town and tow that gobbler into shooting range. So, I guess they take offense to that.
That's funny. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The other thing it said here was that hunt the subordinate tom. Your mocking calls to lead a hen won't always bring in a sharp spurred strutter, but you might get lucky and reel in a satellite tom traveling from off the fringes of a small breeding flock. The turkey won't be the dominant bird, and he might not gobble, but who cares? He's likely a 2-year-old with a 9-inch beard, so take him.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway, but fun stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that was all great stuff. And I mean, from a whole standpoint, I mean, I feel like that's a good wrap of turkeys. I mean,
I got more.
Do you? Okay, good.
I've got some more.
Yeah.
So here we go. Keep the high ground.
Yeah.
It says, I've never had luck calling a gobbler down a steep slope to me. Huh. They like to stay high where they can see and strut for hens. It's better to get above a gobbler, or at least to his equal elevation, before trying to call to him.
That's a great tip, especially in a hilly place, mountainous place like Georgia.
Yeah. Know when to keep quiet. Sometimes the best turkey hunting tip is to shut up. When a turkey is gobbling and moving your way, it's best not to call anymore. Mm-hmm. Sit back, enjoy the show, and let him come. But if he stops and hangs up at 60 or 70 yards, you'll need to coax him discreetly. When the turkey gobbles or drums or stirs leaves with his feet, you cluck, yelp, or purr softly. When a gobbler makes noise, his hearing is less acute, and it's tough for him to nail the precise location of your calls. The bird will have to inch 20 to 30 yards closer in search of that sweet-talking hen, and that's whenever you take him.
That's all great stuff.
Yeah. Understanding how turkeys see. We all know that turkeys have excellent eyesight, but turkey vision has its weak points too. Turkeys can't see well in the dark, and they have poor depth perception. That means you can move on birds under the cover of darkness, but crossing an open field on a bright moonlit morning will get you busted. Mm. Plus, you need to set up with cover behind you or in front of you, or both. If a tom catches your side profile, he'll likely bust you. So just like that vision of where we were set up last year, Tristan, we had a hillside behind us that put us above the turkey slightly. It blended in the whole background of the blind because of the turkey, or because there's no depth perception, right?
Yeah.
So that hill was 60, 80 feet higher than what we were. Mm-hmm. But to the turkey, we're completely blended in. So that makes complete sense to me. Mm-hmm. Don't forget to chalk up your box call. That's Tristan and I actually learned from that. Didn't we? We had that kind of a problem one morning. We were missing some chalk.
Yeah, maybe it seems about right.
Yeah. Bring a rangefinder. Very important. Beat the bugs. Ticks are the bane of spring turkey hunting. They can cause serious diseases like Lyme, alpha-gal, and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. So treat your turkey hunting clothing with permethrin, before the season. Include your boots, socks, pants, vests, hat, gloves, and all other layers. It could save you from getting nasty tick disease and chiggers if you're from Georgia.
Okay, well, what I gotta say is I'm not doing all that.
No,
but
spray it with some DEET.
But if you are that concerned about it, there's your tip. What I will say, if for people that don't know, is if you and I don't know about Rocky Mountain, whatever you just said, but with Lyme disease, if you get a tick bite and you get like a swollen red circle around it within, I think, should be within like 24, 36 hours, right? If you see that, you can get into the doctor and they can actually like stop Lyme disease in its tracks before it actually takes a hold on you, and prevent it from actually, getting to you. But if you let it, that's where the problem lies. I guess it just kind of does its thing and then you have it for
Festers.
life,
Yeah, no, like Lyme disease.
That's what I was talking about. Lyme disease.
I know. I'm just saying that is a very, it scares me.
Yeah, man. I was just,
we thought my stepdad had it before he passed away.
True. I can't believe I'm about to bring this up on a hunting podcast, but matter of fact, I'm really not that embarrassed about it because I know there's a lot of guys that won't admit to this. So I've been watching The Bachelorette with The Bachelor with my wife, and one of the girls on there we like, this girl Daisy, she has Lyme disease, I believe she said, and she had some issue with it where like she lost her hearing and had to get a cochlear implant, and now her hearings came back. But I mean, she was like really like in a hospital, like deathbed kind of thing, and it's real serious disease. Wow. But on the flip side of that, people manage it and live with it. Like I know a person personally that has it and does fine, super athletic, and I think it's just one of those things you got to manage for the rest of your life. But hopefully, long story short, you
try to avoid it.
You can spray your freaking clothes with propane or whatever Tony said.
No, but just get some bug spray. I mean, that's all. Yeah. I mean, that was the basic thing there. The other thing here, and I think Tristan and I, this resonated with Tristan and I as well, is shoot an aftermarket joke. Here's a secret: you don't have to buy a new shotgun to get a high-end turkey gun performance. All right, so with the right aftermarket choke and the compatible TSS loads, your trusty old duck gun can shoot. It's in the teens that morning, and maybe you're chasing ducks or geese. But now it's September and it's 85 degrees and you're hunting early teal or geese. As a waterfowler, you need dependable weather protection that will not break the bank. Founded in 1996, Frog Togs is not only the leader in breathable wader technology, but a company you can depend on to keep you warm and dry, head to toe, no matter your hunting environment. Stay bone dry by using discount code ZD315 for 15% off not only your first purchase, like most discount codes, but how about every single purchase you make from now until December 31st, 2024? Incredible turkey killing patterns. And that's the fact is that you can, but you got to go out there and shoot them. Mm-hmm. Tristan and I both shoot kicks, chokes. We're shooting full or extra fulls.
I think extra full for turkey.
Yeah. And we're shooting these Browning tungsten steel 3-inch.
Yeah, and we don't have any endorsement really with kicks or at all, but I would just whatever kind of gun you have, there's a million videos on YouTube or whatever, and actually some of these,
everybody else uses now.
Yeah, I mean you can look and see what people are having success with, but if you're we just figured that out with the Benelli and Franchi guns we use that these are really good chokes for them. So
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, check them out and just see what works best for you. But I will say for sure we saw it. I mean, that tungsten steel put it down, dude. I mean,
oh yeah,
and you smoked that thing. And did we ever step it up? Did we ever range find that exactly?
I don't.
It was out there.
Yeah, it's probably 35 yards, 40 yards.
I was going to put it more on the 45-50.
Yeah, it might have been.
But it was out there pretty good ways. I mean, to where it was on that borderline where for the last minute leading up to that, we're like, should we shoot? Is he too close? I mean, it was just, oh my gosh, is he close enough? And I know it didn't get much beyond that barrier because it was time to, all right, we're going to shoot this sucker. But that thing put it down, dude. He just rocked him. So I understand why everybody uses that and why you use a full choke.
Yeah, people I've heard from a lot of people that steel shot with turkey is just it's not it. Like if you're really going to spend that time and have that opportunity to get close, you really need to have something. You need to have tungsten or something good,
And it's expensive. I mean, it's going to cost you I can't remember, $35-$50 for 5 shells or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cheap.
I saw American Fetcher had this TikTok the other day that was like, I forgot what the sound was, but it was like, you owe me $20 to your buddy when they mess with the tungsten. It's like, yeah, you owe me $20 because you let them use like your
Tungsten steel shell.
Yeah.
That's great. No, but it's funny, you know, at the end of that tip where this guy was talking about turkey chokes, it just says, which was really me talking, is you just might be super surprised how well it works. You know, and that's the way we were. Quite honestly, I was really surprised with how well it worked. So anyway, but no, that's really all I got, man. And it comes to that. And then, you know, the only thing I wanted to close the show out with is safety. So I don't know if I'm saying this stat correctly, but I believe that more hunting accidents happen during turkey season than any other hunting season. And it's because, you know, we're getting out there, nobody's using flashlights, you know, we're trying to be quiet in the woods. People are on the public land hunting the same turkeys. You don't know they're coming. People are shooting at things they don't see, you know, or shooting at somebody's decoy.
Calling
you know,
back and forth with each other.
Yeah, calling back and forth with each other. Don't even realize it. You know, y'all, if your gut, I'm just going to say this. If you feel like you're on the edge of possibility of that, one of those things happening to you, I would pull out. I would stop and lay down. God honest, because I've just talked to too many people that have been involved and getting peppered. Yeah. And it's way crazy. I mean, I know, just off the top of my head, I know at least 2 people that have been shot. Yeah. You know, and one was on private land too, I think. You know, and so, yeah, I mean, that's how accidents happen, right? Yep. You're sitting there hunting this bird and then somebody comes in to poach on that land and freaking pops you or whatever. Man, I just, be careful out there, you guys.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good point.
Yeah. And, you know, the other thing I'll just say as far as safety goes is, you know, you don't take your safety off until you're ready to pull that trigger. Yeah. You got that thing laying there by you. The other thing is pay attention to your barrel. Make sure you don't get that barrel in the mud. You know, don't get some dirt stuck in it. You don't need the front of your barrel blowing off. Yeah. You know, or something like that happening. So, you know, and then, but yeah, those are just a couple tips I just thought were worthy of mention and might save somebody. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, cool. Well, I think that pretty much does it for this one, guys. You know, like I said, we're not professionals, and we just try to do the best we can to kind of wrap up really the eastern turkey, but so much of this applies to all turkey hunting in a lot of different ways. So I know we kind of made it turkey hunting as a whole, you know, as the podcast went on. But if you guys have any questions or anything, drop them to us because you know, if we don't have the answer to it, we definitely know people or can look it up for you and figure it out. And we like doing that stuff to connect with you guys. So we definitely don't mind taking the time to do those things. So
yeah, and the only thing I was going to say is to stay tuned for more turkey talk. You know, it's turkey season. We're coming up with that. You know, I'm working on right now getting some wonderful guests that are super experienced turkey smashers.
Yeah, let's get some pros on here.
I mean, we're talking about people that have like grand slams and like have shot over 100 turkeys.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah, yeah. And so we're all about to learn something really cool. Hopefully I can get them on here. I'm working on that now. And I'm taking off. Going to be heading on a trout excursion to the Norfolk River. So I'm really super excited about that, and stay tuned for a fishing video episode coming out from 0 Duck 0 Buck 30.
Heck yeah, we're gonna be excited.
It's one hell of a life.
That's right, one hell of a life. Thanks, guys.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.